832. If you're outside Ghana, I have who is youth organizer of the NDC. Good morning.
Good morning.
But you were not expecting me to introduce you first.
Yeah, because I thought that the honorable member of parliament is, they are the party in power, so you always introduce them.
All right, then let me do that. We also have the MP for Second D, Honorable Andrew Mesa with us. Good morning.
Morning. I don't know why Adam wants to be mischievous this morning.
Why?
Because, I mean, introducing your panelist ought not follow any party regarding who is in power or even who is senior to anybody. We are here representing both political divides, and I guess that is only appropriate that you introduce whoever you feel like to do at any time.
Did you feel the shake last night?
Well, fortunately, I didn't.
Oh, you're fast asleep as well?
No, I wasn't. But I guess that my area, I haven't heard so far
when
I was affected. I live in the Labadi area.
Okay, so you were saved from
but I've experienced a tremor before.
Really? When?
Yeah, a couple of years ago. I think I was in Legon at the time. We had come to visit a friend of mine in Usu, Francis Basmusis. We were in his house. All of a sudden, I believe this was in 1995 or 96. Yeah.
Now you're revealing your age, but it's okay.
I'm 47.
Wow, you're blessed.
Yes.
Belated happy
I turned
birthday.
47 last month.
Yeah.
People had to run helter-skelter out of the house to find out what was happening, because you never know what the outcome really could be. So I can feel for the people who had this terrible experience last night, you know, and my commiserations. Thankfully, I haven't heard of any incident, if you like, as a result of the tremors, and we can only hope and pray that we don't get the situation that we see on our TV screens in Japan and other places where earthquake, you know, can cause a lot of havoc to communities and livelihoods.
Definitely. So we'll take a look at that. That's our first story. I'm reading from citynewsroom.com, and it says here, parts of Ghana shaken by earth tremor. The story is by Godwin Alote, and I'm going to read it briefly. Parts of Ghana have been hit by an earth tremor. This occurred a few minutes to 11 p.m. Wednesday, which was yesterday, June 24th, 2020. Citynewsroom.com understands that the tremor was recorded in parts of the Greater Accra, Central and Eastern regions. Some of the affected areas include Dansoman, La Paz, Achimota, Tesano, Santa Maria, Gbawe, Weja, Madina, Kwabenya, Sawem, Koforidua, Swedro, among others. So a few to me. Was experiencing the earth tremor at 10:50 p.m. So many people came on social media to share what they experienced. Now, Ghana recorded similar tremors in 2019 and 2018 as well, and that happened in Accra. We've heard reports of it happening in the U.S. as well. And let me read this one quickly. Earthquakes in Ghana. Records indicate that 1,615, well, in 1615, earthquakes occurred in Ghana with magnitude greater than 6.0 on the Richter scale. There are records that an earthquake in 1636 in Ghana caused havoc in many parts of Axim. Another one also recorded in Accra in 1862. The Director General of Ghana Standards Authority, Professor Alex Diodu, in an article published in the November 16, 2013 edition of the Spectator newspaper titled, "Can Ghana Sustain Health After a Major Natural Disaster?" stated that in 1906, an earthquake destroyed several buildings in Ho, Ghana was in June 1938. The earthquake destroyed most of Jamestown, killing nearly 150 people. So, Honorable, let me start with you on this story last night. But we have reports of the ones that happened last year was like 3.0. Last night was 4.0, and we know that 6.0 is actually the one that's really deadly as a nation? How do we prepare for these things?
Well, good morning. Good morning to Adam and to our cherished viewers. I didn't know that we had such a horrendous history with earthquakes. You know, I know that Accra, particularly the Ouija enclave, has been said to be a earthquake-prone zone. I didn't know that it was widespread and that, you know, could go all the way to Axim on the west and as far as Ho on the east. You know, so clearly, regardless of the time span between the incidents that clearly have befallen us in the past, the question that you asked regarding our preparedness for natural disasters ought to be taken, you know, on board fully. Unfortunately, our resources envelope doesn't allow us the latitude to set aside huge sums of money to meet exigencies such as this. However, I guess that the contingency fund that when we were started with COVID, government had to fall on in itself should provide some relief. But then again, clearly, as a developing country, our infrastructure base we use in construction clearly puts us at risk. And so I guess that's important that we take into consideration the potential of us suffering some major, you know, touch wood, some major disaster that would require us to deploy, you know, dig deep and ensure that our people are protected. Unfortunately, in our parts of the world, even rainfalls and flooding we can't deal with. We all recall the very recent, was it the 9th June incident that befell us only a few years ago. Many people lost their lives. Very recently, we've seen the flooding that has occasioned following the rains, and we don't have the infrastructure to deal with this, and so it puts us all at some risk if any eventuality of a 6.0 above magnitude hit us. Supervisors, you know, agencies who are responsible for ensuring that some safety nets are provided would up their game, and you know, as our resources envelope grows, as Ghana increases its GDP and
but where
government
would
revenue.
we even start from? Because when it comes to issues
It's
of floods,
difficult.
people have built in places they shouldn't build.
Yeah.
They don't want to move. You know,
difficult.
look at the Ouija area. If you tell people to move, they are not going to move because they've
I
invested
recall
so much
even beyond
those
the
buildings.
buffer should have been there to ensure that water that is spilled doesn't affect human beings. But people have built all over the place, you know, with reckless abandon, if you ask me. And of course, and we, the politicians ourselves, who are supposed to set a proper example, I don't know whether we influence society or we are as a result of what the society itself projects. Because let any administration attempt as a people. And for me, some of these things ought not be tolerated at all. And so it's important that we segregate the kinds of issues that we play politics with. Okay. And those that we all agree, come to a consensus that, look, these things ought not be tolerated, and that if we have to clamp down on people who build in areas that obviously, when they suffer some mishap, the same government and public resources would have to be called upon to save those people from the situation that are in. Of course, it's a cause-90 situation.
Yeah. And
so it's important that we you know, I'm sure that there's several other subject matters under the sun that we can play politics with. But, you know, we ought to be able to rally around together to deal with some of these issues that has an impact on all of us, that necessarily will not affect anybody's political fortunes. Okay. Unless, of course, you know, is what is guiding us. So, thankfully, nobody suffered any injury. I don't know whether some properties were even damaged.
Yeah.
But it's a wake up call for all of us. You know, regulators who ought to ensure that clearly places that ought not see structures, we abide fully by the tenets of the law to ensure that people do not build in those places.
Thank you very much. We have some videos of
I'm Lester, so I was actually sitting on the floor and I heard the tremor, but I realized a friend sitting close to me was just trying to run away, and I asked him, and he said he felt some vibration where he was sitting. But I heard it, the sound at the top, but I didn't actually feel it on the ground.
Your full name, Lester?
Butchie.
Lester Butchie.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, I was right here taking my drink, and then all of a sudden, I felt some kind of vibration, and then a noise from the roof up there. Yeah, so I asked my guy that what's happening, and he said, oh, he just felt a little vibration, but he doesn't know what it is. And I said, oh. Yeah, and I told him that that is an earth tremor. And he said, wow. Yeah, so that was what happened.
And are you scared going back to sleep if you maybe might
No. I'm not scared because I've experienced it before, years back. So
later, I felt it was a tremor because of the noise I heard from the roof.
Was filed by our people at Wager, and as they are speaking, it seems like a lot of us don't even know what it is, how to handle it. Adam.
Yes, Dziffa, good morning to you, to the Honorable MP for Sekondi. He's my very good friend as well, and to all our viewers across the world. Last night at about 10:30 p.m., I was reading and I felt the tremor, and so immediately I got onto social media to ask if I was the only one or it was peculiar to my area, but I realized many other people were tweeting and posting on Facebook about their own experience and all of that. Of us rest with issues concerning earthquake, earth tremor. In fact, there was actually a huge debate over whether what happened qualified to be an earthquake or the magnitude of 4.0. It's supposed to be an earth tremor and all of that. But for those of us who follow international news a lot, this started, it's a worldwide thing. It started like last night, it moved. So Ghana, we had our share yesterday. I recall that in 2019, when it happened, I think it happened twice in 2019, I got some education from geologists and other experts who actually said that Ghana as a country, especially our southeast side or southern side of Ghana, we are prone to earthquakes. But looking at the reaction of Ghanaians last night to what happened, and the fact that many of us, even people who are very, very educated, lacked basic information about this thing, it begs the question about our preparedness for such a disaster or such natural occurrences. We're fortunate that 4.0 as a magnitude but if you study Ghana's history with earthquakes or earth tremors, right from 1615, we are told Ghana first experienced an earthquake. We have had situations where properties have been lost, lives have been lost, and all of that. But many people, even on this side, do not know that even when you are building in areas that are supposed to be earthquake prone, there are some building protocols that you must follow. So the next question we should be asking ourselves is, what is the coordination between city authorities and the various other agencies, such that if Lands Commission is granting me a license or a certificate to a land, we are ensuring that in that certification or in the process of granting me the certification, I get the needed education to know that this land that I am getting or this space that I intend to build my house is prone to flooding, is prone that we must take up strongly, because our panic reaction yesterday clearly shows that this is a country that is not prepared for any of such natural disasters. I always say that natural disasters, disease, and all of these things do not know party colors. And so these are issues we should approach from a very nationalistic point of view, because yesterday the earth tremor did not wait to ask whose building is this, is that person NDC, MPP, CPP, APC, and all of that. And I started receiving safe and all of that. You know, these things, it shows that as a country we need more education on some of this. We shouldn't wait for it to happen the morning after all the media reviews, all the media houses are talking about it. After that, we move on. No serious education is undertaken for people to really be abreast. But after we finish discussing it in the media, then we leave it at that. What is the Ghana Meteorological Service doing? What are the other agencies or departments that have some connection or related activities with things like this doing about this thing? So I think that we need to encourage much more education, so that we know that those of us who are living in earthquake-prone areas, even when you want to build, this is how you should approach it and all of that. I hope that this should be a wake-up preparedness for these things. Honorable Mesa said something.
Please wrap up for us.
He said something about how political parties or your opposition will react and all that. It is true, and I must say that the NPP, for example, in 20 June 3rd flooding and fire disaster and all that. But we also how they played politics with it. At a point, everybody wanted the sitting president to take responsibility, as if President Mahama at the time intentionally brought flood and decided to, what happened? We don't want to even remind people of their wound and all that. So the MPP government, the MPP as a party, President Akufo-Addo as an individual, for example, is guilty of some of these things as well. But we need to move on. We must stop politicizing issues that affect the basic life, of our people. This is an earthquake. By now, NADMO should be out and be telling us that due to what happened, due to the panic reaction, this is our plan for education. This is what we intend to do. This is Ghana's preparedness towards such tremors in the future and all of that. We need to be hearing some of these things from authority. It is time for us to pull the brakes on politicizing some of these issues. But at the same time, we ought to be demanding accountability from those in charge.
Thank you very much.
Pay them with our taxpayers' money, and they ought to be giving us accountability.
Thank you very much. We'll hear from Honorable Mesa right after this. If you're watching us from, we want to hear from you. Use the hashtag Breakfast Daily or the WhatsApp line 05505858. We'll be right back.
Online, get free swipes and enjoy greater security with a card that turns banking on its head. That's Africanacity. That's ABSA.
On Citi TV. Thank you so much for staying with us. Again, it's an interactive show, so wherever you're watching us from, we want to hear from you. Use the hashtag Breakfast Daily and the WhatsApp line 0550585832 to contribute to the conversation. I still have with me MP for 2nd D, Andrew Mesa, as well as Edem Agbana, who is the Deputy National Youth Organizer of the NDC. And before the break, we were discussing the earth tremor that happened around 11 p.m. yesterday. We'll hear Honorable's concluding remarks and then move on to the next topic.
And then wants to invite me into. Because you see, I'm an ardent believer in law enforcement and rule of law. Because without that, we're going nowhere. A friend of mine who is a geodetic engineer has just sent me an SMS suggesting that seismic surveys should be part of geotechnical site investigations to determine site-specific peak ground acceleration values to enable structural designers factor these into. Permit regime going to do when we lack the law? What is it going to do? So that's where we ought to start. But of course, our land tenure system, land ownership in this country in itself is problematic. You have a situation where planning schemes are actually put in place before lands are actually disposed of. But here, every chief who owns land is demarcating and selling without regard to whatever planning schemes that exist. So can be done. But if we want to really build a civilized society that is grounded on law, then some of these enforcement mechanisms ought to be, strictly, put in place. And of course, you see,
Please wrap up first.
The politics we can do, but we ought to know the extent and limit to which we would want to do that.
Com. It says voter registration exercise may increase COVID-19 deaths. It's coming from health professionals, and they are warning the EC. So some health professionals in the country have written an open letter to the Electoral Commission warning of more COVID-19 deaths should a mass voter registration exercise be held. The health professionals, comprising doctors, nurses, laboratory professionals, among others, insisted that the exercise has the potential of compromising the health of the Ghanaian population, hence must be halted. So I'm going to quote what they said. We have never expected our work as health professionals to be easy, but neither do we expect it to be suicidal. We wish to advise that caution is exercised in undertaking any activity that has the potential to accelerate the spread of COVID-19. We believe the impending mass registration exercise falls in this category and has the potential to compromise the health and well-being of the population, leading to unwanted pain, trauma, and possibly deaths, as the past few days have shown. So the workers who are in, there are 113 in number, further outline the reasons why the Electoral Management Body must reverse its decision to go ahead with the registration exercise in the build-up to the 2020 general elections. So they go on to, address several things. First one, learning from previous mass registration exercise in the country, we are worried that a mass voter registration inadvertently undermine the principle of social distancing and therefore facilitate the community spread of the disease. Second point, we must collectively work to ensure all lives in Ghana are firmly secured and protected. Third one, available records show that one of the worst affected cases of COVID-19, for instance, in the West African sub-region, Ghana is only second to Nigeria in terms of the absolute number of cumulative cases and mortality rates. So they go on and on, point 4, as a frontline health worker. To safeguard the lives of Ghanaians by not going ahead, concerns that they've raised.
It's interesting. And I like words that they chose. May, should be halted, inadvertent exposure. Ghana being worst affected.
After Nigeria.
So what it is really that they are saying. Because nobody, and as far as I'm concerned, I haven't heard the EC say that the voter registration doesn't pose any risk to potential persons who there's no risk. And so they are right in saying that it may expose people to some contracting the COVID-19 disease. And so I would have thought that the next statement that they will make is to recommend the full enforcement of the protocols at the registration centers to ensure that people who do not go there or people who go there do not contract the disease. That look, yes, COVID-19 is with us. We have a mandate to conduct an election on December 7th. Because so far, I haven't heard all the arguments against registration suggest that we should not hold the elections. I haven't heard. What I hear people to be saying is that because results, regardless, go ahead and use the election. Use it for the election today.
But these are health workers.
No, I don't have a problem. I respect
the
job
line.
that they do. No issue. I respect the job that they do. All these health workers, don't they have umbrella associations that ordinarily speak for them?
Well, they came together
so, you see, Dziffa,
for this purpose, to raise their concerns.
Then it raises the question, because very recently, not too long ago, we had university lecturers, some, and it's interesting they used words like some. Because if the Ghana Medical Association is speaking, they will say some. It's all the members of the association through their executives who are speaking. Why couldn't they do that? So then he introduces the element of politics.
Is there anything wrong with
everybody, so because of that, your view ought to be the one that determines.
Not really, but it's their experience.
So the Ghana Medical Association hasn't got any experience.
You continue.
They've issued statements calling for lockdown. Government has responded. When government lifted the lockdown, consultations were held. Everybody across the world recognizes that, yes, now that we know the nature and character of the virus, life must go on. But we all take precautionary measures.
Okay.
Some members whose names were put on there saying that, hey, I haven't authorized anybody.
Okay.
Question is this. This country is big, 16 regions. So they went around concerned medical officers who are opposed or who would admonish or advise or make supplications to the Electoral Commission not to carry out their constitutional mandate because of the existence of COVID-19. Then let's close shop as a country.
Okay.
If that's your suggestion. Because you see, Dziffa, I care about people potentially contracting this virus. In fact, myself. Because we are all at risk. That's why when I was coming in and I was wearing my face shield, that you advised that I wear a mask, I obliged. Because the reason that you gave, that the shield exposes certain parts of my face and that I could be breathing some droplets as opposed to getting a direct splash which the shield will protect, made sense. Electoral Commission, it recognizes that there is a problem. But the election cannot wait.
But practically speaking, and they provided this example of someone going in to register. Initially, you go, you wash your hands. While you're in line, perhaps you cough, and then you use your hands to protect you from
But that's why you wear your mask until the point that you are being taken a photograph.
Then are you now going to go back to wash your hands? We saw what happened this weekend where people were provided Veronica buckets, people had on face masks, everything that they needed to protect themselves, they were provided. But the minute the winners were announced, they just threw caution to the wind.
Registration lead to announcement of winners.
But we know that the minute people congregate,
so let's not,
the possibility of...
Have you been to a registration center before?
I have.
Do people congregate?
They are waiting to register.
People form a queue.
Yes,
to register.
So while you are in queue, you will talk.
But of course, that's why...
You communicate with someone. And we have this habit of people moving their masks down when they are talking to each other. But anyway, so that's the those are some of the reasons.
The entirety of their statement. See, the registration, and of course the Supreme Court is going to make a determination today. I understand that the NDC themselves dropped one of their reliefs, challenging the capacity of the Electoral Commission to compile a register. And are now seeking to say that add the existing voters register. Some other group or individual has also asked some questions that the Supreme Court is likely to determine today. So I would be expecting people who are in positions of this nature, health professionals, to go out and urge the Electoral Commission to abide fully with the protocols so that people do not.
All right. Thank you very much, Honorable.
Because it's consistent.
Thank you very much, Honorable. Adam.
Dziffa, I want to first congratulate all the medical doctors and professionals who courageously wrote and signed that petition or open letter to the Electoral Commission. I've always believed that governance is too serious a business to be left to the politicians alone. Everybody, every citizen must have a voice. And that is why when President Akufo-Addo, in his inaugural speech, though the speech was heavily plagiarized,
Let's get to the point.
The part of it that we not spectators. We live in a country where critical issues are left to the politicians alone to speak about, especially in this regime where if you're a professional, you're a technocrat, and you express a dissenting view against the position of government, you are either likely to be sanctioned, you are likely to be transferred to some other facilities and all of that. We have countless, a plethora of courageous enough to take a position that I believe is in the interest of Ghana and the people of Ghana. If you read their letter, very emotional letter, because we're in this country and we're told that medical professionals or all the facilities have been given enough PPEs to be able to go about their work. They even have a full complement of the PPEs as compared to we the citizens. But how many cases of doctors, nurses are contracting the disease? Even they, the medical professionals who have deep insight or knowledge on medical issues, and they will be best abreast with the preventive measures. With all the PPEs that we have given to them, they are contracting the disease. So what is our fate? You and I. To 18 million people at risk. They, as medical professionals, could not sit and watch and look, because as we speak, even the Ministry of Health has come out to say that our facilities are being stretched. As we speak,
we're also providing more isolation centers and treatment centers to deal with that problem.
You are in the process of providing.
Yeah.
Even the and we are talking about 18 million people.
But shouldn't these?
I'm getting to the point. Now you have our 18 million people expected to register for the voters' ID card, and we are saying that these doctors are saying, and their position actually is similar to what the NDC is saying. The doctors have said, challenging the legal mandate of the EC to compile a register, but they are giving a professional advice. That President Akufo-Addo told us that a single individual in a factory in Tema was able to infect about 500 people. So you have a situation where this registration, we all know how registration centers
But that's why the EC is going to do all it can to provide the necessary material.
You see the materials. Like I've told you, the doctors who are contracting it in Ashanti region, as we speak, over 100 nurses have gotten COVID-19. Is it that they don't have PPEs?
Okay, so another doctor is speaking.
Is it that they don't have the materials?
Another doctor is speaking. So let me read his response and then I'll hear your thoughts on what he said. Is that okay? So last night, Dr. Koboy was on Point of View.
Doctor.
So the Electoral Commission has demonstrated its readiness to ensure compliance with COVID-19 preventative protocols during the upcoming voter registration exercise. It goes on to talk about the procurement of thermometer guns, face shields, sanitizers, and liquid soaps, and how that is going to help reduce the risk of
Minister of Health. His boss did not have access to all of these PPEs.
So if we're going by that notion that we can all catch the virus, even in our regular activities.
So that vindicates the position of this medical professional.
So shouldn't they, as Honorable is saying, come out with perhaps alternatives to ensure that we don't spread the virus?
We are saying that this is a virus that moves when you move.
Yes, as the education minister said.
Except when it is, and he himself,
he's testing.
He's testing enough. But this is a case where and how people gather.
But we are going to ensure social distancing.
Let me tell you, we were in this country
things.
Just last week. The NPP and the Electoral Commission gave us or adhere to the social distancing and all the other WHO protocols. Have you seen the videos yourself?
But that was an election.
No, that is an election. I mean, how different is an election from a registration?
Is there a winner when you're registering?
I'm saying that. No, it's not about even before the winners were declared.
But most people were complying before the winners were declared. You have to admit that. Do you admit that most people were complying before the winners were announced?
You see, when we talk about compliance, it is not just a matter of using thermometer guns and having very. The question is that beyond that point, beyond the registration point, you are actually providing an avenue. It is a virus that you do not have to create an avenue for people to actually.
We're going back to church. We're going back to school. We are back at.
Million lives at risk and expect that medical doctors who are on the field, they are suffering, they are seeing the effect of it, they are seeing their colleagues who are being infected daily. As we speak, Dziffa, on daily basis, Ghana is recording on the average 200 new cases. Our death toll is rising, and so people have genuine reasons why they should have fears that what is the essence of this whole registration when you already even have a register. A register that you used to elect Akufo-Addo in 2016. A register that you used to create new regions. A register that elected over 6,000 assemblymen. A register that you
would admit that the number of people who have died in this country, that's relatively low compared to other countries, and we are recording high rates because we are testing more than other countries on the continent, right? As far as positive cases are concerned. The majority of our patients are asymptomatic.
I've heard this argument about let's celebrate Ghana because we are testing more.
It's the fact, though.
No. You see, it is not as simple. We are being simplistic when we reduce the argument to we are testing more. Let me ask you. If you perform or you conduct 1 million tests, 1 million tests, and you find out that only 1,000 people have it, and somebody conducts 10 million, and it's finding out that 500 people have it. It's not about it. It's about the disease being there.
So that Honorable will respond.
It's like saying that when you throw when you throw a bigger net. When you throw a bigger net into the fish is there. The disease is with us. So that should even encourage us that we should continue testing more. The disease is with us. as we speak, we are hearing that cabinet meetings have been suspended. Cabinet meetings has less than 100 people. So you suspend cabinet meetings, and yet you want 18 million Ghanaians to queue up and register within a period of 40 days.
Thank you very much,
We need to be serious with the lives of the people that we govern.
This unsubstantiated allegations, mere speculations, ought to stop. Let him prove to us that cabinet meetings have been suspended.
Oh, but
prove it. You cannot sit under any circumstances established. In any event, you see, as they condemn the MPP for holding primaries where people were jubilating, Mr. Mahama was in South Dai or North Dai, breaching all known protocols that have been established.
True.
You haven't seen the videos.
Oh, the videos are there. Every single person in that video was in mask.
Were people observing social distancing protocols there?
Yes, they were. I mean, you can play it.
You can kill yourself.
We're still talking about the medical doctors and the concerns they've raised.
You see, nobody is putting 18 million people together. There's not more than 600 people. So that talk that how do you put 18 million people together for a registration is false.
He didn't say together.
But that's what he's saying. But in any event, the registration is being organized over 40 days.
Well, yeah.
Clearly reducing. Yes, of course, in clusters.
In phases as well.
In clusters, yes, clusters of several police stations.
Because
and that's been the process of
Please allow him make his point.
That's been the process of registering voters in Ghana since 1992. Because you can't expect the Electoral Commission to go and buy capturing devices for 30,000 police stations and deploy them all at one time. So they buy a certain number and move them from location to location to make sure that everybody have been telling the Ghanaian people not to register. So what's your issue?
We never said so.
Your party chairman is saying that you guys won't participate in your registration. So what's your issue?
Where did he say that?
Why? Adam, I know you to be more decent than this one.
Say that.
I know you
never said that.
I know you to be more decent.
No, I mean,
but the concerns people are raising is that because we're dealing with a pandemic, this is not normal times. Shouldn't we stop and make do with what we have to save lives?
If it won't serve the purpose for which it is in place.
Because at the end of the day, we're all going to burden these same healthcare workers if we end up getting sick, honorable. But the same people will go to take care of us if something happens to all of us.
That's precisely the reason why the protocols that have been put in place ought to be respected.
Have we done enough to ensure that we don't have a pandemic?
Now you can see that the wearing of proving them done because of the legislation that His Excellency the President has passed. You see, for me, in all of this, the NDC is not advocating for a postponement of the general election. Why? That is the only day that will ask the so-called 18 million people to come on the street in one day to go and vote, wait for the vote to be counted, and jubilate when a winner is declared. That day, and preparatory things that we have to do now, whatever it is that is in the 2012 register that they think ought to be used at all costs.
But you won in 2016.
No, I don't have a problem. But you see, I'm not the elections management body. And I haven't heard government saying that by all means people should go and register. We have institutions in this country. The Electoral Commission, which has the mandate our election. Team board, the one that I have today, when we play this game, I cannot guarantee the outcome of it. You say, oh, damn it. Put that ball down and let's play. When you lose, will you accept the outcome? Will you? And believe you me, we know them. These are the same people who today are crying that you see this, that. They will not, under any circumstances, accept the result. When this same
is the deputy.
We will all celebrate
10 seconds.
And then proceed.
We've run out of time.
I mean, I think if there's anybody who should be talking about a neutral playing field, we should be speaking about it.
Okay.
We have a register currently that the NDC won elections with in 2012. The NPP won elections with it in 2016. And you want to compile a new register. Your majority leader can win elections with the new register that you are compiling.
Is the Deputy National Youth Organizer of the NDC. Thank you both very much for being with us.
There will be no new register.
Thank you. We're going to learn about drug addiction right after these messages. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.